With just about 2 months until Election Day, the political messages, the ads, social media reels, they're just all coming at us fast. And if you feel more tense than usual, you're probably not imagining it. New research shows politics can make people feel uneasy, even if they don't generally suffer from anxiety. CBS's Tom Hansen shows us how one group is working to help people ease the stress.
You can believe that somebody is ignorant without disdaining them.
It's not very often that libraries encourage talking.
I'm a leftist, and I'm deeply frustrated, by sort of like the direction my camp has taken.
But here in Rockland County, New York,
things that are untenable are happening.
This one is full of chatter. The people here at this Braver Angels workshop are learning to cope with their political anxiety with open minds and ears.
Each time something happens, I find my anxiety going up.
Moderator Robert Weintraub joined the organization when his anxiety over politics was at an all-time high.
I can understand why the American people are frustrated.
Economically and the cultural wars, and that fear turns into a kind of depression.
Now he's helping a growing number of people who feel the same. According to new research, 1 in 3 Americans admit to losing sleep over politics. 40% of Americans say politics are a significant source of stress. And after recent elections, more than 10% of Americans even show signs of PTSD.
This seems to be an acute enough stressor that some people are really struggling.
Political professor Kevin Smith co-authored the study.
One of the things that we've pretty consistently found is that 1 in 20 American adults say that they've had suicidal thoughts because of politics. Communicating with people face to face as opposed to trying to shut yourself off in an information bubble, I think that would be a good and healthy thing to do.
I am Palestinian, so I've been living like 9 months of really hell. Almost nothing is keeping this anxiety from being front and center.
Do you think you could reach some common ground with a strong supporter of Israel?
Oh, I have conversations with my Zionist friends all the time. And it's like every time I have it, I take like a beating. But I keep reaching out because I feel like we have to continue talking.
We're not going to be able to necessarily avoid the anxiety that conflict brings for each of us on different sides. But we can reduce the anxiety that is brought about by this stereotyping and contempt and disdain that we seem to have for each other.
Easing anxiety through the art of conversation.
Joining me now is UCSF physician and health policy researcher, Dr. Brandon Yan. Thanks so much for being with us on this holiday.
Thank you very much for having me on.
There is so much negative rhetoric out there from both politicians themselves, but also voters. Do you blame social media for this? And is this different from past elections?
Well, I think there's a confluence of so many things that's happening here in the 2024 election. It's economic insecurity, it's war in Gaza, war in Ukraine, it's reproductive rights on the ballot. So I understand why people are rightly anxious and worried about the upcoming election. At the same time, it's worrying to us here in healthcare that people are experiencing higher levels of anxiety and worry about the election. Social media certainly makes it worse in many ways because it's harder to escape exposure to politics and these thoughts and this rhetoric that's going around.
Yeah, and it is so extreme, it feels like. It is so negative, and so many folks out there, as you mentioned, feel that there's so much at stake with this election and that the outcome will have a profound impact on their future, their children's future. So how should people mentally prepare for the possibility that their candidate may lose?
It's a great point that you bring up because in the research that we've done and we've looked at, certainly when an election turns out a way that's different from expectation, that tends to take a much different and greater hit on mental health than an election where you see an outcome that you didn't want coming. And in this particular election, it's the results, the polls are sort of neck and neck there. And so the anticipation that I would recommend is to prepare yourself for either scenario, to play it out in your head exactly what would happen, how you would respond to whether one or the other candidate wins so that you're prepared for either outcome.
Now, the Bay Area and San Francisco especially has been the target of politicians and pundits, really painting the city as, frankly, sort of a lawless hellscape. After time, that can impact someone who lives here. How do you suggest folks deal with that messaging on their home?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, in hearing from my own patients, a lot of their election anxiety is related to local politics and what San Francisco is going to look like after this next election with a mayor's race, several supervisors, several ballot measures. And what I say is think about, and this is protective for all elements of mental health and all issues affected, is think about the positive. Think about the joy in the city. Think about the directions where we are going right, and actually see the election as an opportunity to turn the image of San Francisco, to make a difference, and to vote how you want the future to look like. So it can be both a source of anxiety and a source of hope and opportunity.
Yeah, this is a great point because there's so much beauty in this city as well. So how do you suggest people stay informed but not get so overloaded with all the information?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest balances to strike. And I think an important way to look at politics is to approach it with a mindset of curiosity. In an increasingly polarized nation, I think we often look at it in terms of who's right, who's wrong, who's lying, who's telling the truth. Approach it with a mindset of curiosity, interrogate the facts, interrogate what people are saying, but have an open mind to what people are saying and make up your thoughts as you hear that, and also not to villainize people that may feel differently from you. I think that ultimately leads to a society where we can have productive conversations and try to move together as a community to grow the nation, grow San Francisco, and the communities where we live.
Yeah, productive and respectful conversations. They are the ticket. All right, Dr. Brandon Yang with UCSF. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Hi, thanks so much for watching. To view more content like this, we've selected some videos that we think you'll enjoy. And don't forget to like or click that button here on the bottom left of your screen to subscribe.